you will be awarding the Best Sibling Award.
The Best Sibling Award.
And you can't choose Trevor.
And no, I'm picking myself. The award winner for this is me.
All right.
Fair.
Nominees for the Best Sibling Award are Tien, Renarin, Marsh, Rebecca, and Vivenna.
Oof. Two standouts for me on this list. Is there any other siblings we need to be thinking about?
Did we just get Elliot to try to pick Marsh every single time he's the award?
Ellie's just secretly a Marsh stan.
Yeah. Just sneak it onto the list every time.
I have a healthy respect for Marsh. We'll just say it that way.
Welcome back to Following Note on a Stormlight podcast. This week is episode 296, and it is our final episode before we go on break for a couple months. Paul, how are you?
Great. This is probably the blindest I've ever been going into an episode. I know that Trevor has things planned for us to talk about, and I have no idea what they are. And I know that Elliot has some data planned for us, but I have no idea what it is. So I've titled myself this episode An Observer. I'm here to observe.
Audience member number 1.
Yes. Front seat.
No, you'll have plenty of participation, believe me. Elliot, how are you?
I am bittersweet, melancholy. I don't know what the right term there is. I'm doing well, but I'm now heading into I've run out of Brandon Sanderson material, which is making me a little sad. We're going to go into an extended period of time here where I won't have a Brandon Sanderson book on my nightstand. And that is making me scratch my head and trying to think about what I'm going to do with myself. So I guess what I'm saying is if you're out there and you've got book recommendations for me, send them my way, because now I need something to read that's not Brandon while I wait for his next book.
Indeed. We have completed the Cosmere once again. This week, we are going to do some final wrap-up content, and then we'll be going on break. We are planning to return in June with some Cosmere RPG content. If that interests you, this feed will resume in June with some Cosmere RPG stuff for likely a couple months. We're not entirely sure how long we'll run that. And then we will reconvene with more traditional podcast stuff in the build up to Fires of December. So that is the plan as of now. We'll be gone for roughly 2.5 months as of the release of this podcast. And then we'll be back over the summer with some more laid back Cosmere RPG content. So without further ado, for this episode, Elliot has some retrospective podcast stats for us.
I sure do. I've done this once before, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to yet again bust out the data, go full nerd on you guys, and take a little bit of a glimpse back over the entirety of our podcast and some of the data behind it. You're definitely going to want to view the screen here if possible, listeners out there. I'm going to do my best to talk through the data I'm showing here, but if you are audio only, this might be an episode that's worth either pulling up our YouTube video for this, or I'm going to dump all these visuals in our Discord as well, so you can pull up the Discord to see the different kind of screens I'm going to reference here. I'm going to show a bunch. Paul and Trevor, you guys are going to want a full monitor worth of space here. We're diving deep. We're diving deep into the data. Trevor, are you able to pull my screen up on the... Oh, there it is. All right.
I see a white screen.
Big and bright. Yeah.
It is all white at this point. We're going to fill it with data here in a second. Ooh, hopefully our logo up there doesn't block too much. Okay.
I can take it off 1 second.
All right. I will dive in. Before we get to the data, though, I do feel like sometimes on this podcast, I am the crazy conspiracy theory guy. You know, this guy. So
Classic.
In honor of this dude, which is, I think, from a TV show I've never seen, I have made for you guys this diagram of all of my crazy visual aids I've made over the years, all the way back to, I think, Way of Kings, some of the early Stormlight Archive kind of stuff, I got into this rhythm of building weird, sometimes data-driven visual aids to talk you through. I think in my notes, I kept calling it Elliot's engineering explanations, but I would bend your guys' ear on all of these. So here's my crazy web of linkages to all my visuals.
I remember I have a favorite from
Which
this.
is, I was going to ask you, which is your favorite, Paul?
I really liked the one with the arrow from Mistborn, the medals of the arrow. That just like, I remember that was cool. That and then Canticle probably has to be in my opinion, the most impressive one.
I was going to call out Canticle, but the Azimir Dome, I was blown away by the visuals of the Azimir Dome. So I appreciated
Also,
that
can't
one.
forget the Wax's rocket shotgun jump.
That was my favorite. That one has a special place in my heart, but that's just because it uses the rocket equation, which is my favorite math and physics equation of all time.
Which one took you the longest to prepare, Elliot?
Which one took me the longest? Probably the Canticle one. I did way too much thinking about that one. It's not even the most complicated on here, but the Canticle one was almost like a Sherlock Holmes detective experience of me trying to figure out what the heck was going on with that planet. And I just had to diagram it out. I started that one just for my own purposes. I had no intention of showing that on the podcast. It was just I needed a visual to try and figure out what the heck was going on with that planet thing. And then it turned into something I could show you guys. That one took a lot of time. All right. Enough visuals. Let's get to the actual data. So just a quick rundown of some of the summary of numbers. I've done this before. Before Wind and Truth, I think we did a quick brief look at this. So here it is again with just the updated numbers for our podcast. So as of the day of this podcast coming out, I've calculated back to the beginning of our podcast, and as of the 17th of March 2026, we have been running this podcast for 5 years, 9 months, and 15 days, which I've known that was how long we've been going, but seeing it in writing makes it seem huge to me. That's massive.
With a previous only 1 3-month break, right? We had a 3-month break before we started Mistborn Era 1.
Yep.
Which was probably right about halfway or 2.5 years ago.
I'm going to show you a nice view of that here in a second.
Okay, nice.
And over 5 years and 9 months, we've put out 296 main episodes. And by my count, 42 other special episodes and short videos. There's things like announcements and art reveals and stuff like that baked in there. I'm not sure we were 100% consistent with our naming convention throughout the entire time, so counting gets a little funky, but there you have it. Well over 300 episodes and videos coming out from us. Again, mind-blowing number for me. Total airtime. This is like probably my favorite part of looking at this. Gentlemen, as of the start of this episode, we had published 396 hours, 59 minutes, and 58 seconds of us yapping on about the Cosmere. As of like right now, well, if you're listening to this, you know actually what the full number of this, because you'll know what the runtime of this episode is. I don't. So add on to that how long this episode goes for.
So close to that 400-hour mark.
We are
no,
close.
I'm planning to break it. We're going to be here all night.
I
I didn't tell you guys, but we're going to be here for a while.
We only need 3 hours and 2 seconds.
Yep.
Right?
Correct.
There we go.
Yep. So up until this point, we have read 21 books and Arcanum Unbounded, however you want to count that.
Yep.
Probably easiest math on this page. Words read. This is another mind-blowing one. We've now read 4,482,302 words written by Mr. Brandon Sanderson. If you start to do a little bit of averaging on those numbers, you see some fun stuff. Of those 4 million and such words, we have read at an average rate of 2,120 words per day. That's consistently for 5 3/4 years. That also includes that 3-month break that we were talking about. So most of the time we were reading it well above 2,000 words a day, which sounds kind of fast, but we also actually move a little slow on this podcast. I think most people would read a lot more than that in a day if you're actually sitting down and, crunching through a book. But the consistency behind that, I think, is quite adds up to quite a bit. If you look at the total airtime of our episodes, we have published greater than, a little bit more than 11 minutes of podcast content per day. Again, that's constantly for 5 3/4 years. So we're often putting stuff out weekly. So that's on average, 77 minutes
Yes,
of
7.
content every week for almost 6 years. Say a prayer for poor editor Trevor over there who has to edit all that.
It's all done automatically these days.
Oh,
Back
yeah.
in the day, I edited it quite fine comb, whatever you want to call that. But these days, it's all automatic.
That is nice.
I've learned how to use the tools.
And another way to think about all that data is per 1,000 words we've read, we spent on average 4.5 minutes talking about it. I don't know quite what to take away from that. But
I feel like that's a lot.
I feel like that's kind of crazy.
I should probably go try and calculate that in like page count or something like that.
Per page. Yeah, that'd be an interesting stat.
Which, I mean, is different between different publications of books. It'd be complicated. But anyway, 1,000 words leads to 4.5 minutes of us talking, apparently. And then the last thing I counted up was guest appearances. So I counted up that we had 8 different guests make 30 guest appearances on the podcast. And I will award absolutely 0 points to whoever can guess who showed up the most.
Me.
Oh, you're a regular host.
Yeah, it's Tim, of course.
It's Tim. Tim.
He
had a lot. There's like 14 different guest appearances. Any guesses for second most appearances on the podcast? It changed very recently.
Is it Alex? Or
it is now Nate? Alex tied for second with Ranksk with 4 appearances each on the podcast.
Yep.
And then
I'll bet these stats don't include our Wind and Truth build-up episodes because I took those down.
I did take those out. Because I'm counting that as the 10 or so episodes you guys did for that duration. Tim and Ranksk were adopted as main podcast hosts for the duration of that time. But I did count all their other appearances as guest hosts.
Yeah. Cool.
And then, of course, we had 2 very fun channel crossovers, one with Creme of the Earth and one with Lost in Roshar. I think that still remains my favorite episode we ever did, was one with Christian from Lost in Roshar. Super fun.
Yeah, that was very fun. I agree.
All right. Now for some data charts. Trevor, here comes the view of our break where you can get a good idea of where we've been. So here's a calendar view of the podcast. So back in June of 2020, our first episodes came out. We started reading a little bit sooner than that, but I'm showing that as the start of Way of Kings. And then the colors here are just kind of arbitrary. They show you the segments of when we were reading different books, but you can see roughly kind of how long each book took us in months to cover and how we jumped from book to book, starting with Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, and then jumping around a little bit throughout. You can see the break we took in the middle. I also threw some kind of gold badges on here for the Dragonsteel conventions that we went. We sent at least one member of this podcast to Dragonsteel Nexus, or previous names of that, in 2021, 2, 3, and 2024 for the release of Wind and Truth, which was very fun.
Yeah. What stands out to me initially is the length of Wind and Truth.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The
massive.
The shortness of Warbreaker, that sticks out as well.
Yep, we're gonna look at the actual numbers behind it here too in a second. Yeah, the other thing that
Sorry, I was going to say, I totally thought we were in the Way of Kings and Words of Radiance a little longer than they were. But I think I'm skewed by the fact that Wind of Truth was almost a year. And so that, I guess that kind of skews it a little bit. Like that is taking up the whole screen there.
Our later ends of the podcast start to skew our data quite a bit, actually. That's going to stand out again on one of the next charts I'm going to show. I agree with you. It felt like forever covering Way of Kings and Words of Radiance, it took us longer to cover Wind and Truth than both of those combined.
Wow.
Moving on, maybe my thing will advance. Here we go. I've showed a version of this before when we looked at this last time, but I did it again and just added on the books we've read, and then I added the visuals of the books to show you kind of what sits where. This is a data graph that shows you the pace that we read at. So over here on the y-axis, we've got the words per day averaged across that whole book, and then the bottom just the date as we were going. So you can see how long we stayed at that reading pace that we were moving at. And yeah, I'm sure our reading rates kind of fluctuated in between these, but you can kind of get a good idea of what we were reading way faster and what we were reading way slower. Elantris breaks the data here a little bit. It goes basically off scale high because we did all of one episode on that, and we kind of read that book in the background while we were reading other books. So that shows a crazy high number, which is a little confusing. But the rest of these kind of shake out as you might expect them. Yumi still remains the slowest we've read a book by actually a decent margin. If you're looking at just how long we spent reading it and how fast we were reading through it.
Cool. I don't remember. Did I map those episodes, or did we have someone else do that?
I don't remember. I'm assuming you did.
I think
did you do it blindly?
You might have gotten that help with one of them or something, but I think you did it.
I'll have to go back and look. I don't remember if I covered Yumi blind with you guys or if I had sped read it before and then mapped it for us. I don't remember.
I think you did read it before. I'll have to go back and look. Anyway, we definitely sped read through Mistborn Era 2. That one we covered in pretty quickly. All right. What's next? I don't remember. Oh, yeah. So this kind of graph is called a tree map. I don't really know why, but maybe it's because if you look at like the rings on a tree, it tells you like different portions of that. Essentially, this is a view at the different planets that we've spent time on. So the size of these blocks is the percentage of time that we have talked about events on that planet. So this is podcast airtime compared to the different locations that we've been. I didn't try and do some super fine tuning on this like in, what is it? Oh, Isles of Emberdark, we spend a little bit of time on Silverlight. I didn't try to break that out, or in times in the Stormlight archive, we're actually on, Ashen and doing things over there. So didn't break that out, but you can see, as you could probably guess, a large amount of our time, probably 2/3 of this entire podcast, we've been talking about events on Roshar. And despite there being 8 different books on Scadrial, we have spent, 25% probably, a little bit more of our time on Scadrial. And then you can see Dromanad just jumped up a bunch with Isles of Emberdark.
Yeah, I was going to say Dromanad got carried pretty hard in the last final overtime to get 3rd place here.
And then poor Threnody barely makes a blip on my chart down there. I can't even fit the name on there, but we did do one 45-minute episode on Shadows for Silence in the Forest of Hell. So Threnody does make it on the list.
Threnody makes a cameo in spirit on Canticle, so there's that.
There is that. I do think that, Cell is a little underrepresented here. If we did a longer series on Elantris, I think Cell would take a much larger, prominent place in the planets we visited.
Yeah. I enjoyed this visual a lot. Thanks for that one.
This next one I've also showed before, and I've just added to it with the new book. So this is our podcast airtime on the left, our total airtime of all of our episodes from that book summed up. And on the bottom, the word count for that book. So as you obviously go to the right, book gets larger, we spend more time on it, but you can see how we deviated from our average. So this gray line here running kind of diagonally through the middle of the chart, that's the average, essentially. If a dot is on that line, we spent an average amount of time for us in that book. So you can see, for instance, Rhythm of War ends up actually almost spot on our average for amount of time we spent talking versus material in the book.
Yeah. Cool.
Wind and Truth is, I think, by far our highest deviation from that average of we spent way more time talking about Wind and Truth. Even though it is the highest book count, we still spent an unproportional amount of additional time talking about that story, which I think there was just so much hype leading into that book. We were ready to dissect every little element of it, which I still enjoyed. And then this graph does point out, I think, the tragedies of Elantris and Warbreaker being kind of on the low end of our attention that we gave them. But I think the biggest thing that stood out to me when I pulled this data together now, because Wind and Truth is now pulling that average up so high, Way of Kings is one of our lowest amount of time spent on when averaged this way by book word count, which is crazy to me because we spent what felt like a decent amount of time, but according to the book word count, we actually didn't spend enough time on it, which is funny for me to think about.
That's what stood out to me looking at this too. I've been surprised at, in my head, we took forever to get through the Way of Kings, but that was 5.5 years ago. And yeah, I have no idea. Apparently we sped through it.
So something that sticks out to me here is Mistborn Era 2 is on the line.
Yep,
That's interesting to me. That Mistborn Era 2 is on the line with Rhythm of War. I felt like those are disproportional, but I guess they're not.
Which I think points out the fact that those books are so short.
Yeah, that's what I was
thinking. It's easy
thinking.
to forget how much shorter they are, even compared to Mistborn Era 1. So yeah, we actually spent, I joked about it earlier that we sped through Mistborn Era 2. We actually didn't. We actually spent, for us, a very average amount of time.
We sped through Mistborn Era 1, according to this map.
Slightly. Definitely, I don't know. What's the
Hero of Ages?
Probably the biggest? Maybe.
Yeah, my guess is Hero of Ages was that middle dot, the longest, and the... Oh, wait, no. That would be the longest. So, yeah, apparently Hero of Ages is the low one.
Alrighty. This next chart is going to take me a little while to get through. It's the one that took me the most time to put together, but also the one I'm most excited about. I have gone back and pulled up all of the book ratings that we have done as a podcast.
Oh, wow. How long did that take you?
A little bit of time. And I'm going to walk you through some fascinating data. And this actually will paint a really cool picture of the kind of cumulative or aggregate rating that we have given Brandon Sanderson for his Cosmere works, both in the categories we gave it in and ultimately a total final score, if you will, that we have rated Brandon for his entire Cosmere works. But I'm going to build you up to it slowly.
I'm very excited about this. I've wanted to go back and look at my previous ratings. I don't rate books based on previous ratings. I rate them how I feel at the time. So I'm very curious how I rated things over a 5-year period and how I rated stuff.
Yeah, I feel like mine is going to be mega skewed. I feel like I used to rate really high and then I got stricter, and I feel like my number's going to be all over the place.
There is some fascinating stuff in here. And yeah, you guys will have to tell me if you think this is still representative of you or not. I will definitely clarify this for everyone listening. This is our reactions to books that we gave at the moment of finishing them. And this is spread out across that entire 5-year and 9 months that we were just talking about. I, for one, definitely feel like I'm a different Cosmere reader than I was 5 years ago. And so
sure.
Going back and rereading, I think I would probably rate these books a little bit differently. But honestly, as I was staring at this data for way longer than I maybe should have, I don't know that it's that far off. As I look back, I actually feel this is fairly close to my reaction to the Cosmere as a whole. Enough caveat and lead in. Let's get into it. Okay. Books across the bottom here in the order that we read them. We also did not rate novellas. So I don't have any data on the novellas. We just rated the major books. So I have all those in the order that we read them, left to right. If you take all of our scores, combine them together, and then scale them to kind of your typical 5-star rating on a book or movie or whatever you want to give it, here's our scores. Here is what the following Know It On podcast, the three of us combined together, rated all of the books that we've read. I think there's 18 books here in this list of Cosmere works.
Would it be appropriate to read them out would you like me to read them out for the audio listeners?
Go ahead.
Okay, so real quick, The Way of Kings got a 4.8 out of 5. Words of Radiance got a 4.6. Warbreaker got a 3.4. Oathbringer got a 4.6. Rhythm of War got a 4.4. The Final Empire got, or Mistborn as a whole? No, The Final Empire got 3.8. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter got 4.0. The Well of Ascension got 3.2. The Hero of Ages got 3.8. Elantris got 4.1. The Alloy of Law got 3.8. Shadows of Self got 4.0. The Bands of Mourning got 3.8. The Lost Metal got 4.3. Tress got 4.1. The Sunlit Man got 4.4. Wind and Truth got 4.1. And Isles of the Emberdark got a 4.5.
So a few highlights to maybe point out there. The highest book we rated on the podcast was very high, 4.8. The very first book we read, The Way of Kings. The lowest, and we've drug it through the mud a few times, so we don't need to redo that again here. Well of Ascension got rather picked on by us, which will be very clear in the data I'm about to show. 3.2, not a terrible score, but 3.2 is definitely the noticeable low point in the Cosmere for us. A few other things I was going to point out. Isles of Emberdark that we just ended on here, 4.5, actually quite high in our scale of everything. I think that was it.
Yeah, looking at this, I can already tell, I can see the trend. You know, we started super hot and excited, The Way of Kings, and things kind of leveled out after that. And then Warbreaker, we were like, take me back to Roshar. I don't want to be here. I want to go back to Roshar. And it got a 3.4, which I feel like it deserves a bit higher. But yeah, it's kind of funny. It's funny seeing this. This lines up pretty well with what I remember these, of course. But yeah, I'm surprised to see that The Way of Kings was so high, like the highest by a notable bit. There's not even another 4.7 or anything like that. So we loved it, and yeah, I'm curious to see what else you have.
I have a lot more.
This is
so. I'm going to break it down for you by category that we've. I have all of our scores in here, and you're going to see that. So I'm going to go kind of in reverse of the order we usually talk about these. So first category, Trevor has 5 different categories that he had us rate each one of the books on. The last one we often talked about was point of view. So here are the 3 of our scores for point of view for every single one of these books that we've read. And I did a little bit of a color coding system to help digest this data. I've been watching a lot of the Olympics that was on last month. So I went with like a gold, silver, bronze kind of scoring system here. 10s get gold and that's it. So if it's a perfect 10, it gets gold. 8 and 9 is silver. 6 and 7 is bronze. And anything below that, 5 and below, I gave like a light red color to. So overall point of view, we actually scored fairly high around the board. Apparently Trevor thinks the lowest of Brandon's point of view, depending on how you think about it.
I was pointing out that, or I was thinking he was the highest because he has 5 10s.
He does.
Point of view, and I have 2, and you have none, Elliot, which surprises me. Realizing this now, but he does have the lowest point of view ratings at a 5 and a 4 in some of the other books as well.
Yep, Trevor was the only one to dip down to a 5 or lower, and he hit Well of Ascension and Elantris with those.
Am I the most emotional grader? Is that what I'm reading here?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, get it together.
But you've hit some highs on this recently. You hit Tress, Sunlit Man, and Wind and Truth, all with 10s, and Isles of Emberdark with 9s. So strong point of view here, closing this out. Yeah, I have no 10s in this for a very specific reason. I always dock Brandon here for his lack of descriptive reading or descriptive writing. He doesn't go much into that, so I dock him down for that.
Not even Yumi got a 10. Not even Yumi.
Nope.
Yumi got a 7.
Yumi got a 7 because of other reasons, which you have to go back and watch our wrap-up episode on that. But for some of the weird Hoyd narrator stuff, I think I docked it lower. Anyway, next up is theme. So theme is all over the map, actually. This category is probably more highs, but also more lows. So you can see the breakdown of all of our scores for all the books on theme. You will see we see our first perfect 10 across the board option. None of the books that we've read got perfect 10s from all of us on point of view, but there is one that got perfect 10s from all of us on theme, and it is Way of Kings.
Almost Elantris.
Almost.
I let Elantris down. So you guys both gave Elantris 10s for theme, and I gave it a 9.
And this is, there's a little bit of disparity in some of the point of views, but this theme category brought out the first, I think, where us as hosts were very different. And that was in Alloy of Law. Look at our scores there for Alloy of Law. Trevor, you really resonate with the theme there and gave it a 10. Paul, it was a complete miss apparently, and he gave it a 4.
I think this comes down to the deep-seated difference that Trevor and I have between eras 1 and 2. I feel like that's a good thing. On the others, it was less divisive. Like, we were actually pretty akin on the others, some minor differences. But yeah.
I think it's really funny that you like Shadows of Self's theme more than Alloy of Law theme. I remember you guys bashing Shadows of Self, but
I preferred the pacing of the trilogy of Mistborn Era 2 way more than the Alloy of Law. Was one of my actual least favorites in the Cosmere, I think.
All right, moving on. Next, we have world building, which we've talked a lot about on this podcast. I think it's pretty well.
Look at all those 10s.
Widely, yes.
Yeah, this is 10 City right here.
Brandon's strong suit. Maybe his highest. Well, we'll see in a second if it's actually his highest. But yeah, a lot of 10s. A lot of 10s popping out here. We've got 3 books with complete perfect scores and another 1, 2, 3 with nearly perfect scores. A lot of strength here. Only one book gets down into that red category. There's only one red score on this whole thing and only a handful of bronzes. Bronzei?
Yep.
Anyway, Well of Ascension, sorry, gets a little ragged on here. Next up, characters. This one is interesting as you start to dig into it. Not as many 10s as world building. However, no low scores hardly at all. There are 2 6s in all like 50 ratings there are here of the 3 of us rating in all 18 books. Pretty much never did any of us dip below 7 out of 10 for characters. And so I'm going to show you some total data here in a second, which will tell us whether we rated world building or characters higher. But just glancing at it here, it's actually a little hard for me to tell. But interesting spread here on the characters.
Okay, I have one comment to make on this. I am sad. I am a little bit sad and disappointed in myself for rating Warbreaker a 6 on characters. I think much higher of Warbreaker right now, and I love the characters from there. And I truly look at the line all the way up and down on Warbreaker, and I'm like, we were just so mad to not be in continuing in Stormlight. We can scapegoat that all on Trevor because he's like, hold on, before Oathbringer, we need to read this book. We're like, we just want to read Oathbringer. We came off of this super high at the end of Words of Radiance. Yeah. So I think these were angry ratings.
Well, and I also formatted the podcast poorly for Warbreaker. We've covered that before. But yes, Warbreaker has been done a disservice on this podcast.
Unfortunate. But yeah, I'm upset with myself for rating characters a 6 in Warbreaker. That is sad.
When am I allowed to shame Paul for his 0.5 ratings? He's got a 9.5.
Oh, hold on. Okay. There will be a golden opportunity for that in just a second.
Perfect.
Before I go to that and let you attack Mr. Paul, though I should be careful what I say because I think I do have a single 0.5 rating in there somewhere. Real quick on the Warbreaker, and I would throw Elantris in that same bucket. If we run out of content to bridge us to Fires of December, maybe we need to go back and give like Warbreaker and Elantris specifically a redo on this podcast. We'll see. Okay. Here's your decimal ratings, Trevor. Up here in plot, which is our last category. First off, I want to point out the scores here were much lower than I expected them to be when I was looking at this across the whole board. I feel like Brandon is a strong plot writer, and I think these scores would say that too. But across kind of these 5 categories, I think we noticeably rated Brandon weaker in plot than the other 4 categories.
Huh.
There's also a rather suspicious number in here.
There's a 7.1.
There is.
Why is there 7.1?
What was the reason for this? There was some joke or something, wasn't it? Had to have been something.
I don't remember.
I think there was. I don't
maybe
remember
my
what it
point was like I liked it more than Elliot liked it, perhaps because he had a 7 and I had a 7.1. Oh, I don't remember. Maybe I meant to hit 5. I got no idea.
Yeah, Paul does lean on the 0.5s more than the rest of us. Trevor, I don't think you ever went to 0.5. I think I did 0.5 once. I don't remember where. It's in there somewhere.
There's a point of view Rhythm of War 8.5
Oh, yeah, there
for
it is.
Elliot. And that's the only 0.5 I see for Elliot.
One thing I'll point out here on plot while we're looking at this, only twice did one of us give Brandon a 10 out of 10 on plot. Trevor, you gave him a 10 out of 10 for Way of Kings, and I gave him a 10 out of 10 for Rhythm of War. Yeah. As you can quickly see in this data, I'm a sucker for Rhythm of War. My scores are consistently higher than you guys' on that one, but I will continue to be a Rhythm of War apologist until my dying days. Okay. Let's total these up. I'm not done yet. We're like halfway done. We are going to total these up. So if you add all this up together, here's what you get with these totals at the top. So I've added all these up and then divided by 10 to get kind of that out of 5 rating. So you can see if you take all of Trevor's scores for all of Way of Kings and you divide that down, then you get 4.9 with his score. If you average the 3 of our scores in this set of rows up top, that's exactly the number that you see down at the bottom for the stars. So that's how I got to that number. And you can see a lot of very obvious results here, some really golden scores for some of our highest rated books, some much lower scores for some of our lower rated books. I think there's 2 books that stood out to me here when I ran this, which were the books that we deviated the most on. And those 2 books were Elantris and Alloy of Law. We all had like different tiers worth of ratings for those 2 books. I think the biggest difference is Alloy of Law, where Paul, you rated it at an average of 3.4 and Trevor went to 4.2. 0.8, almost an entire star worth of difference between the 2 of you guys on Alloy of Law. Over in Elantris, are those even more different between you guys? 3.6, 4.5? That's 0.9. That's even higher.
0.9
so those 2 deviated. And in both cases, I was the middleman. Things averaged out to pretty close to my ratings on those. And you guys went off scale either direction.
This was the birth of Trevor and I's feud.
Yes, that's true.
We just apparently took diverging paths at this point in the podcast and decided, we're no longer in agreement. You could see early on, I feel like there was this trend where my ratings were always very close to Trevor's. And then at this point, I just said no more. I'm going the opposite direction of whichever way.
It doesn't diverge after that. We come back together and we make up.
You're right. Every relationship has its ups and downs.
Yeah, exactly. Over 5 years, you can't expect to get along with each other all the time.
That's true.
And I got to say, in a lot of these books, we're actually fairly close. We kind of vary in the different categories and how we rate it, but a lot of these books, we end up coming out fairly close together in our takes on this, which I guess should probably be no surprise. We all have similar similar-ish taste in books, so not a big surprise there. All right, last thing I'm going to take you through here is a accumulation of all of these numbers. So what you're about to see could, I think, be viewed as us together, our total take on Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere as a whole. The scores I'm about to give you are the averages of what each of us has rated all 18 of these books mixed up together. Or maybe Brandon's final scorecard from us at this point in the Cosmere.
Yeah, okay.
So over here on the right side of the page, I've got an all Cosmere average. So I just flashed a bunch of data up there, but I'll start down at the bottom. Point of view. Trevor, if you take all of your scores from all these books and average them out, you rated Brandon 8 out of 10 on point of view. Paul, you and I came out in just a little bit higher. All pretty strong scores there in point of view. Theme. Trevor, you rate theme significantly higher than we do across the whole Cosmere. You're at 8.4. Paul and I are a little bit lower, 7.6 for Paul and 7.8 for me. I'm not quite sure what that says, but I guess the on average across
Trevor's
the whole Cosmere, I guess.
I'm better
that's
at
so-
understanding high literature than you two.
Ah.
That's what that is.
Either that or just the themes as a whole across the Cosmere resonate with you slightly more than me and Paul, perhaps. I don't know. Or maybe we're just harsher graders. World building. Here's our answer between did we rate world building or characters higher? The answer is world building. Although Trevor actually rated them the exact same. 8.8 for you in both those categories. But Paul, you and I are right up there with Trevor in the world building and a little bit below Trevor in the characters side of things. Again, Trevor rates those characters quite high in the Cosmere. You and I are up there too. We're above 8 out of 10, but not quite as high as Trevor in characters.
I like to say that if you're an audiobook listener, you rate characters higher than if you're a traditional book listener or traditional book reader, I should say.
That could be true. Could be true. But then is the inverse of that true in plot? If we go to plot, Paul's up there with me, but Paul and I rate it quite a bit higher in plot than you did, Trevor. You're a little harsh, a little more harsh when it comes to plot. 7.1 from you. That's our lowest score on the whole board here, by the way, that 7.1. And then 7.7 for Paul and I on plot.
What do you have to say for yourself, Trevor? Holding the lowest score on the board after the others being basically the highest.
Briefly, just looking at it, I guess that's where I start docking points if I don't like the book, just in general, is where I start taking points off the plot. Which, looking at it briefly, is Elantris, Well of Ascension, and Wind and Truth, which I guess that checks out. So yeah, if I didn't like the book as much, then I attack the plot first.
All right, one final number for you guys. And I literally out loud was like, what? When I saw this number. I took all these scores here and I averaged all of them together. So if you take each of our ratings for all of these books, that top row, and you average them all together to give one final for all the marbles score that we have given Brandon over the 5 months and 9 years of this podcast.
Who liked the Cosmere the most score?
Who of the three of us liked the Cosmere the most? And the answer was, if I can click it, all three of us, when averaged together, gave Brandon the exact same score of 4.1.
That's pretty nuts.
Wow.
That was wild. It feels like there's a lot of deviation in here amongst the three of us. You can see our numbers there. We were just talking about it. Trevor's low in plot and Trevor's high in theme. All of it averages out at the end of the day. And when you combine all of this together, we all had the exact same rating for Brandon. I say that there's a little bit more in the data here. I've rounded it up to 1 decimal point. If you go out 1 more decimal point, I think Trevor's slightly higher. Trevor's like 4.11, and Paul, you and I are like 4.10. So technically, I think Trevor slightly edges us with a slightly higher score, but with at 1 decimal point, all three of us came to the exact same conclusion about the Cosmere.
This is really satisfying to see. I'm really surprised it's all exactly the same at the end. But I guess it goes to show, that these books, there's a little something for everybody. We had very different roads for averaging out at a 4.1. That's pretty cool.
And I got to say, I feel pretty good about that number right there at the end of the day with the highs and the lows. And like you said, there's kind of different types of stories in here, a little bit of something for everyone. You're not going to like all of it. You're definitely going to like some of it. To be giving Brandon a 4.1 out of 5 at the end of the day, that feels about right for me, for the entirety of his work combined. For everything he's written from the beginning until now on the Cosmere, to be giving him a 4.1 for all of it together, that feels about right.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for putting this together, Elliot. I bet this took you a while.
It did, but it was, like you said, incredibly satisfying to see this data all start to come together. So I am such a nerd that building something like this is a super fun way for me to spend Saturday, but it was.
All right, we will take a quick break and then come back with section 2 of this episode. And welcome back in to the second segment of this podcast. Dear listener, my two fellow co-hosts have no idea what I'm about to present to them, but you do, since you know the title of this episode. So let me explain it to Paul and Elliot real quick, and then we will get into the content of it. Gentlemen, that's Paul. Hold on. We have an award show to commence for what we have read so far. Here are the rules for this award show. I will pick one of us at random, and you will be giving the award to who you would like. I have 23 awards to give out. We will be picking one of us at random, and you will have complete power. The other two of us are going to be observers. We can object. We can argue for something else, but there are 23 awards. We will be rolling random for the three of us. That person will have sole power, and they can listen to a soapbox from the other two podcast hosts. But at the end of the day, whoever is picked has complete power. There are nominees in each category. However, if the person that is picked to give the award would like to give it to someone else that is not a nominee, that is totally fine as well. I just picked some good nominees to get your brain in the right ballpark. But if there's somebody that sticks out to you that I didn't think of, then you're certainly welcome to give it to that person. Any questions?
This sounds really fun. I'm excited. Quick question. How many of these categories did you say there would be?
There are 23 awards to give out tonight.
23 awards. Okay.
All right. We will be rolling each one at random. What would these be called? The Cosmeres? The Cosmes? What would we call these?
Cosmes.
I like
that.
Cosmes is pretty good. Cosmeres is pretty good too.
All right. These are the Cosmes. All right.
Because the Adonauseum will hear our plight eventually is my vote.
And if and when you are picked, you can give it to whoever you would like. You have sole power, but you also would receive full blame for anyone who would be upset at you.
Okay.
Without further ado,
I'm good at this.
The first picker is...
of course. Paul. Yes.
Right off the
bat.
And
the award you will be giving is...
Oh, okay.
You are going to be giving the Steal the Show Award.
Okay.
Let me find it for you. The Steal the Show Award, I have for nominees Adolin, Marisi, Sereni, Auxiliary, and Yumi. You can give it to whoever you would like, but these are my top 5 that I've given you.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's an honor to get to announce at this year's Cosmeres or Cosmes to give out the first inaugural award of this. I'm very excited. It's great to be a host and have y'all here tonight. I would love to hear from y'all. You know, what are your thoughts on this? I want to be, amiable to the crowd and to my co-hosts here of what you might think and what the Steal the Show Award means to you.
I'm glad you asked. So the Steal the Show Award to me means you had the expectation bar was on the floor or even non-existent going into the story. And then by the end of it, you're just like, wow, I would run through a wall for this character. And given that, there are 2 clear winners here for me, maybe 3. And I would give it, if this were me, I would be torn between Marisi and Auxiliary, personally.
There is one clear winner to this, and it's not even on this slide.
Oh.
I'm going to make Paul pick it first, and then I'm going to tell him how wrong he is with who it should be.
That's interesting. And I'm glad I got to hear from y'all because it just affirms that I'm glad that I'm the one making the pick here. Okay. And how I'm interpreting the Steal the Show Award is a character that no one would think about and allowing them to steal the show here.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to pick Dunny as the Steal the Show Award winner.
Okay.
And he has stolen the show. You're welcome, everybody.
How in the world did you not go for Wayne? This has got to be Wayne for me, in the sense that you meet that bro, and instantly your expectations drop to the floor. That dude is annoying. That dude is occasionally funny, but really just kind of obnoxious. And then by the end of the series, you cannot not like Wayne. Steals it right from under you.
That's a good point. I think you might be more specifically disliking of Wayne from the get-go, where I think we might have thought he was a little funnier. But I have to say, I feel like Serini on here as a mention isn't like I feel like I liked Serini the whole way through, by the way.
Sure.
Anyways. And
All right.
Auxiliary, that was for you, Trevor. Let's be
Oh,
real.
I would have picked Auxiliary. I put Auxiliary on this.
You
slide.
obviously made that list. Okay.
All right. Yes, I have obviously made these lists. If you would like to object to any nominees, that is your prerogative. Okay. Next, and I need to remember to take these off as we go. So if we re-roll something, I will take it off from now on. Next, we have Paul again.
Let's go.
Paul will be giving out the.
I'm so excited to be.
Paul will be giving out the second best world building showcase award.
The second best.
The second best, because we all know what the best is. So the second best world building showcase award. The nominees are The Sunlit Man, Elantris, The Emperor's Soul, Mistborn: The Final Empire, and Tress of the Emerald Sea.
Okay, this time I'm going to be a little more sincere. Okay. It's all fun and games. Steal the show. I mean, come on. That set me up. That was fate right there. I'll be honest with y'all of what I'm thinking, and then I will want to hear from y'all as well. I would love to give this to the Emperor's Soul because I think it was so creative and wonderful how you learn about everything in that story through the days and through the stories and kind of the thought process of Shy. I think it was really cool and really refreshing and super fun. And I know this isn't canonical, but the extra like non-canonical edited chapter from this book that it's not actually in the Cosmere of seeing Hoyd as the jester, I still think of as so cool, and how we kind of later you learn more about him through like Rhythm of War and things like that. But at the time it was like hot Hoyd imagination news about him and everything. So I would go the Emperor's Soul.
You have the power to do so. If this were me, I would go Tress of the Emerald Sea, but that would be me.
I like the pick of Emperor's Soul a lot. I might have picked that myself. I might be tempted to go Mistborn though, actually, because there's a lot of stuff I don't quite like as much about Mistborn, but the magic system and figuring that out in the Final Empire is fascinating and really good world building. But Emperor's Soul, good pick.
I think I'm going to stick with the Emperor's Soul, but I agree with Mistborn. In actuality, Mistborn is excellent and really the like perfect example of world building. But I'm going to pick the Emperor's Soul for funsies. So there we go.
All right.
I'm really hoping I get 3 times in a row here.
No, we're going to void you. You're going to be limited to twice in a row.
Nuh-uh. Okay.
It almost was.
I am limited.
Elliot will be awarding the Wrong Time, Wrong Place award.
Wrong time, wrong place. What does that even mean?
You will find out. This award goes to the poor individual who just has a run of bad luck in the Cosmere. You think that they're just the trod upon poor guy who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Your nominees are Moash, Zane, Marsh, Tone, and Zeth.
And Dunny. Should really have him on this list.
You're right. Dunny should be on here.
There's a full-on trapdoor here in these. No, there's some rage baiting happening here.
Also, I'm surprised TN didn't make the list. You know, there's a lot of tragedy. There's a lot of tragedy in the Cosmere.
There you go.
There it is.
There we go.
That is a little more challenging of a list to choose from. I think for me, without too much deliberation or thought on this, the name that immediately jumps out to me that I think is the most deserving for the amount of pain they've gone through and yet still trying to do their best for the world and help the heroes where they can, it's Marsh.
Yep.
I think it's definitely Marsh. I I'm tempted by your other nominations here. I can't think of anybody else off this list I might throw in here, but Marsh, I feel like, man, that guy just the worst of luck.
Yeah. I probably would be torn between Marsh and Talon. I think there's a good argument for Talon, obviously.
The cool thing about this list is while Elliot was saying, I think there's one clear leader and it's insert name here. I could have seen him saying any of the names, really.
Yeah. All right. Marsh has won the Wrong Time, Wrong Place award.
Congratulations to Marsh. Congratulations.
Well, Trevor, will be awarding.
Ooh, congrats.
Thank you. I will be awarding the Worst Mentor Award.
Are you choosing yourself?
Yes. The nominees are Kelsier, Zyle, Adolin, Yasna, and Hoyd. Anybody upset with any of the nominees while I deliberate this?
I know that there's one about like father, and so I'm thinking of that as mentor because there are several characters I'm thinking of, notably Shalon's father.
Yes,
that I want to choose here.
We'll get to the father award in a second.
That's not here. So
I think I had a long rant in our episodes about Kelsier and how there were elements of Kelsier's character that I had big problems with. But does that make him the worst mentor? Maybe.
It does to me. I'm awarding this to Kelsier, pretty much whatever you guys say. So,
well, there you have it, folks.
Kelsier has won the Worst Mentor Award. I will be awarding.
Congrats.
Thank you. The Best of Intentions Award. This award is they have the best of intentions, but they don't quite get it. They're really trying their best, but they really just aren't quite there. The nominations are Dalinar, Pattern, Lopin, Elend, and Wayne. Any thoughts before I pick this?
I do have thoughts. Earlier, Elliot threw out Wayne as a name for the what was it? The to steal the show when you start off not loving, but then love at the end. And I think maybe he doesn't actually have the best intentions, but I think he is deserving of this award because he always comes around to doing the right thing and always wants to do the right thing when he can, but he's just so darn aloof about it all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny.
I almost take that as Wayne has the worst of intentions and yet does the right thing anyway. Like he gets there in the end, but he actually didn't intend to do the right thing.
He has his own system of rules and morals, which is quite comical, but like he follows those. But I would say there are definitely plenty I can think of with worse intentions than Wayne. But anyways.
I think I'm going to be awarding this to Pattern. Pattern really does try his best. He just has the deck stacked against him because his human is Shalon, and there's no winning there. So I'm giving it to Pattern.
Wow. Sorry to any Shalon fans out there, apparently.
I'm not.
I'm a little surprised that the Cosmere Academy did not nominate Taravangian for that award, actually.
We'll get to Taravangian here in a little bit. All right, I'm spinning that again. I got myself. Paul.
There we go.
Will be awarding the Give Them a Spin-Off Book Now award.
This sounds like a fun award.
And the nominees are for the Give Them a Spin-Off Book Now award. The nominees are Shy, Naz, Spook, Xysis, and Raboniel.
Okay.
You can pick whoever you'd like. They don't have to be nominees.
Absolutely. I'm actually curious because these are great nominees. Do y'all have any recommendations or nominees that are not in this list? I'm going to allow an open floor for that. Risen had her spinoff book, right?
And Novella doesn't count.
Novella
that
doesn't count as a
counts.
spinoff book.
Risen has. I almost put Risen on the list, but thought she had a spinoff book already.
Yeah, I count it. She definitely has her own book.
I I
He
can't
made
move
the
anyone
list,
off.
Trevor.
How did you not
Yeah,
put
I mean-
Demu on this list?
Well, okay. Yeah, you're right. Demu should be on this list.
Okay, this is a bit of a tough one. Looking at the list, who I think would be most interesting to follow would be Nas. Xysis is also a very, very fun pick because dragons, and learning all that. But I think I'm gonna give this actually, I'm gonna pick someone who's not on the list, but is quite akin to one of the people on the list, and I'm gonna choose Chris because
Okay.
we know a bit about Chris, but we don't really know a lot about Chris. And I feel like you could learn a whole lot from that book. So it's Chris with 2 S's, in case you didn't know. Trevor, are you looking it up?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. It was just a pause.
Spook has been taken by Chris. Okay. The next award is Paul will be giving the best sword award.
I feel like I already know my
Paul-
answer, and I haven't
Paul
seen
is the appropriate
nominees.
one to pick this one.
Yeah.
All right. The best
All right.
sword award nominees are Nightblood, Sylphrena, Pattern, Maya, and Testament.
Would y'all like to speak your piece, or shall I go ahead and get this over with?
Maya is the obvious answer here.
Yeah, but Maya's only occasionally a sword. I feel like there's one dominant takes all the categories when it comes to swordness.
Or Testament is also a sword after she's dead. Like Testament still continues to be a sword post-mortem.
I always want to clown around, have a bit of fun, but I'm not going to here. The best sword in the Cosmere is Nightblood, hands down. Just I don't have to say anything. Everyone knows it already.
Yeah, not sure why there was even a voting pool on that one.
Yeah, true.
Maya should have taken this to be clear, but
It's a good thing Trevor wasn't the judge on this one.
Didn't we just get Paul?
Yes, I'm supplanted now. I've had 2 in a row, so it has to be
I think
somebody else.
your wheel is a little weighted
Let's
over
go.
there.
Let's go.
my wheel's a little Paul.
That was just a question of how many
All right.
how many Pauls can we get in a row?
I will be awarding the most likely to survive the entire Cosmere Award. And the nominees are Hoyd, Kelsier, Yasna, Taravangian, and Lift. Would you guys like to put forward any other nominees? Sazed.
And Sazed. Yeah.
Okay, Sazed. I would absolutely not pick Sazed. Sazed is on the chopping block if you ask me, unfortunately. Elliot, any other nominees?
Any other nominees? I don't know. There's a lot of names we could throw on here. A lot of the names of our shards, like Cultivation or
Ishik,
Ishik.
Ooh, Ishik, yes.
Starling. Starling got some.
I did
spunk
think
to
about
her.
Starling quite
Starling's
genuinely.
an interesting nominee.
But I mean, Kelsier is the survivor, right?
Right. Yeah, you can't put survive in the award title and not have Kelsier up here. I think I'm choosing Lift. Is there anybody upset by that choice?
Yes, but you're allowed to choose whatever you want to choose.
I feel like the incumbent almost should be Hoyd because he seems to be everywhere.
Yeah,
so that's a little bit of a hot take to imply that Hoyd is not going to survive the Cosmere.
I think Hoyd is the main character of the Cosmere and will not survive it personally.
Brandon doesn't kill main characters.
Yeah,
Ever.
Trevor has learned nothing from the past 21 books we've read.
True.
There
All
we
right,
go.
Elliot. You
Hey,
will
I
be
am still on the
awarding
wheel.
Yeah.
the most likely to say I can fix them. And the nominees are Vin, Navani, Adolin, Tress, and Raoden.
Some good ones here.
These were good nominees.
If the category was most likely to say I can fix it, it would be Navani, because she can tinker
True.
and fix
True.
all the things. But fix them implies people. Is Navani there to fix people? I don't know. Probably not as much. Ooh, Raoden's an intriguing inclusion here. Raoden has got that serious, I can bring hope to anybody in any point. At the lowest of the lows, I will be the shining light for them to find new hope in their life. Yeah, it's Raoden.
Great choice.
Excellent pick.
I
Excellent pick.
concur.
All righty. Elliot again will be awarding
Let's go.
the Most Tired Award.
Tired.
And the nominees for the Most Tired Award are Kaladin, Stazid, Marsh, Tanavast, and Taln.
Most tired. My eye is immediately drawn to Kaladin. That dude is like just emotionally exhausted by the end of Stormlight Archive.
He's got some tough competitors on this list, though.
He does. And he kind of ends his story on a bit of an upswing where he's going to go be therapist to a bunch of other very tired people, heralds. So he can't be the most tired. Marsh, I already gave Marsh an award. You know what? I think, though, it has to come down to the shortest name, but probably the tallest person, Taln.
All right.
That dude has been through the ringer.
No kidding.
True.
And for his
All right.
efforts, we will award him the Most Tired Award.
The Most Tired Award. All right, back to Paul. Paul will be awarding the Worst Father of the Cosmere Award.
Is it bad to say I've been looking forward to this?
The Worst Father of the Cosmere Award nominees are Strath Venture, Lynn Devar, Dalinar Kholin, Lord Jackstam Harms, and King Deadlin, which is Vivenna's dad. Vivenna and Ciri's dad.
Yeah. Well, I think I know why Dalinar is on this list, but I feel like he's an oddball on this list because the others are pretty diabolically bad.
Oh, sure. The other people are like terrible people, but Dalinar's not the best father. Like Dalinar kind of lets his son specifically down.
Okay,
Well,
so
and
Trevor,
Dalinar
if you
goes through a pretty terrible person phase.
Right.
That's fair. I do grant you that. I guess I'm assuming this is, but if you're looking at their worst, maybe comparable, but if you're looking at their best moments, I mean, come on. Do you want Dalinar as your father or do you want Strath Venture as your father? I mean,
You're right,
be real here
exactly.
for 1 second. That's not very comparable. Okay, can you remind me about Jackstam Harms? Oh, that's
Lord Harms is Steris and Maricy's dad, and kind of disowns Maricy upon birth and doesn't really accept her until she's an adult.
I didn't remember Jackstam, but then I'm like, okay, Harms, okay, yeah, Maricy, etc. I think there's a clear winner, and who I think of as the worst father of the Cosmere in the Cosmere is Strath Venture.
Okay, yep.
Absolutely diabolical. Honestly, a great villain, but sickening to read about Strath Venture.
All right.
Gave me Game of Thrones vibes, which not much in these stories do, and that alone is enough to be the worst father of the Cosmere.
All right. Elliot will be awarding the MIP Award. The MIP Award or the Most Improved Player.
Ah, I didn't even know what that meant at first. Improved player. Okay.
The nominees are Sigzil, Dalinar, Steris, Hrathen, and Wayne.
This is tough.
This is tough.
This is very tough. Hrathen does have like a turnaround at the end, doesn't he? I already talked about how Wayne steals the show. Does Steris actually improve? I don't think it's Steris. Someone's gonna have to fight hard for Steris for me to think about her.
Paul, is Alex still awake?
No, well, she's not here right now, but she would absolutely fight hard. But she would argue that she probably wasn't. Well, no, she would. Yeah, definitely improves throughout, but goes from my case for her, if you will, would be she goes from extremely hard to relate to, very contractual character, to then being a very, very genuine, loving wife and mother in Wax's, family. So there, and very much sticking to her loyally to her husband, which is quite admirable compared to how it started.
I didn't think anybody was gonna be able to make a strong case for Steris, and I feel like you just did. Now I'm considering her. But I think putting a little bit of thought into this, the winner is pretty clear. This has got to be my boy Dalinar. If you think about the low point,
Dalinar, yep.
If you think about the low point that he's been at, and whether you agree with his decisions or not, the way he was able to turn his life around from the lowest of the lows of being personally at fault for his brother's death while he's in a drunken stupor to, well, there's even lower lows than that, isn't there? We won't even go there. All the way to sacrificing himself for the good of the Cosmere. Epic. Most improved, Dalinar Kholin.
Dalinar Kholin. All right, Elliot. You will be awarding the Biggest Brain Award.
Biggest Brain.
Can he give it to himself?
I'm just the data nerd.
He's technically not in the Cosmere, right? So
not yet.
The Biggest Brain Award nominees are Hoid, Taravangian, Renarin, Yasna, and Harmony.
And Huyo, apparently.
Huyo's the Arcanist from Silverlight. That's true.
Or what was the Arcanist we just had in our last story? Ed. He had a longer name. What was it? Something else. Anyway, Biggest Brain. Taravangian, surely the front runner here. Renarin, though, Dark Horse, yeah.
Says it also not mentioned. Oh, Harmony's mentioned on here. My apologies.
Harmony is on here, yes.
Harmony puts an interesting spin on that. If you type Says it, I think I would have thought about that harder. I feel like when he's Harmony, he's actually shackled quite a bit.
Yeah, okay.
Hoid is the strategy player, but he gets too distracted by things, I think, to maybe be the biggest analyst brain guy. I think it's got to be Taravangian. I think we got to go literal. It is on his smartest of smart days.
Yeah.
Taravangian.
You made a scatter plot for this, didn't you?
I sure did.
I don't know if it's a scatter plot, whatever that graph is called.
It was a scatter plot, but it was on a, why am I blanking on this? Logarithmic scale, which they describe in the story.
Yes. All right. Taravangian has won the Biggest Brain Award. We just got LA 3 times in a row. Let me spin again. Paul, you will be awarding the highest TPP. Might be asking what that is.
Do we have to guess?
The what?
The highest trauma per page. The highest trauma per page nominees are Kaladin, Vin, Shalon Devar, Rebek, and Nikaro.
What's the character from the Threnody book, The Silence in the Forest of Hell?
Silence, or her daughter.
Yeah, there's like a little girl, isn't there?
Yeah, her daughter's has a boy's name. I don't remember her name, but yeah. All right, let me put my cards on the table. I would swing hard for Rebek here. Highest trauma per page.
Wow.
I would swing hard for Rebek.
I am thinking quite intently on this one. Elliot, do you have any chips to add to this conversation as well?
Shalon is the one that takes the most brain power here because, has Shalon been through some trauma? But does it get diluted by the page count? We see a lot of pages of Shallan, which includes some pretty serious highs and happy times. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what
Kaladin
I'm
probably the
thinking
same.
is Kaladin and Shallan are not in my mind because of page count. If it's trauma per page,
Right, exactly.
that kind of disqualifies them a bit.
Vin is up there. Vin has a solid case for highest trauma per page.
I agree. She's absolutely gone through some very serious trauma. You know who also, honestly, who I've been thinking about is Talonel as well. Is page count
Yeah.
of him
Yep.
actually not that high, but he's endured thousands of years of torment. But does that count? Is he too far of an outlier in that regard? You know, Talonel is on the list, so I think it would be fun to have Rebecca as our highest trauma per page
Yes,
recipient here.
absolutely. I think Rebecca very deserving of this award. She gets her brother's head blown off in the first 2 pages of reading about her. Spoilers.
Still think it's Rebecca, but neither here nor there.
It's Rebecca.
Now,
All right, I will be awarding the Worst First Impression Award. And our nominees are Kaladin, Sabariel, Dusk, Waxilium Landrian, and Dalinar Kholin.
Is the implication with worst first impression is someone that you can come to like,
Correct.
but you just don't like them initially?
The first
Okay.
time you meet them, you are either extremely intimidated or put off or whatever. But if you run into them again, then you'll like them.
I would absolutely add another person to this category if you would hear me out.
Okay.
That would be Elokar Kholin.
Elokar. Okay. I'm going to delete Kaladin because I'm not picking Kaladin for this. So I will add Elokar.
I think he's very easy to dislike at the start of the series in the book. Like, I'm like, absolutely get this guy off my page. Like, I cannot stand him. But then you absolutely start to come around as time goes on.
Elliot, anyone else who should be on this list and is not?
I'm trying to think about our various other books that might pull somebody into this. I'm not really thinking of any, though. I think your list is good.
I feel like Adolin is also not the worst name to throw out here. He's also like, you're like, I don't really think I like this guy at all. He's kind of a playa.
Yes.
Well, actually, I take that back a little bit because I remember on my reread thinking he wasn't too bad. Like he actually did some nice things.
If it were me, I'd probably put Adolin as the Kholin on this list, not Dalinar, because Dalinar's middle impression is pretty bad, but his first impression is fine.
No, the first impression is like, I never want to get that guy's attention ever. He's gonna like.
Well, right, he's just the general warlord guy, but
right, exactly,
not the war crimes guy that comes later.
Not the war crimes guy. Yeah, fair.
Middle impression. Okay, so because this is me, and I get to pick who I want, I'm picking Sabariel because that type of person I just absolutely cannot get along with ever. So props to Shallan for making it work, but Sabariel is absolutely the worst first impression for me.
I fully expected him to turn into a villain at some point, and then he just stuck around long enough. I was kind of like, okay, I guess he's on the good guy team.
Yep. All right, Elliot, you will be awarding the Best Sibling Award.
The Best Sibling Award.
And you can't choose Trevor.
And no, I'm picking myself. The award winner for this is me.
All right. The nominees for the Best Sibling Award are Tien, Renarin, Marsh, Rebecca, and Vivenna.
Oof. Two standouts for me on this list. Is there any other siblings we need to be thinking about?
Do we just get Elliot to try to pick Marsh every single time he's the award?
Elliot's just secretly a Marsh stan.
Yeah. Just sneak it onto the list every time.
I'm I have a healthy respect for Marsh. We'll just say it that way. I think. Ooh, Trevor's going to get mad at me here, but Renarin and Vivenna are the two front runners for me
Oh,
here.
I'm not mad at that. No.
Tien, there's a lot going on with Tien. Super emotional. I don't know. I feel like Renarin has some cool moments.
Yeah.
Some really cool moments where he stands up and fights for his brother.
Yeah, jumping into the pit kind of really does earn you a big place on this list, you know.
But then Vivenna kind of does something similar, right?
I
She
agree.
goes after her sister, who's been
Yep.
taken off to be the slave to the king, and she navigates the underworld of Nalthis to save her sister.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say I'm hard pressed to pick on this. I'm actually kind of glad I don't have to pick on this one. I think if it were me, I would ultimately choose Vivenna. But Renarin, like, it's basically a tie, essentially.
I think Renarin is the cooler character overall, but if we're just looking at siblingness, I think Vivenna takes it because that's like her whole mission. That's the whole book.
Save her sister.
Vivenna is trying to save her sister and trying to figure everything out and do that. It's Vivenna. Well done, Vivenna.
Yeah, agreed.
Or Azure, if you prefer.
Yes.
High Marshal Azure. All right, Paul will be awarding the. Oh, I already did this one.
Whoops. Okay. Yeah,
I'll hide that one real quick. Paul will be awarding the Samwise Gamgee Award.
All right. I feel like I can do this. I feel like me and Samwise get along well.
The Samwise Gamgee Award nominees are Adolin, Galadon, Demu, Sylphrena, and Tress.
Okay. So obviously we know Samwise Gamgee is like the loyal optimist who won't leave your side and is only talking positively like the whole time, like not a negative bone in his body, you know. And part of me wants to throw out Raoden in this category for the optimism, but he is like the leader type, and Samwise is like the best follower that exists in a way.
Does that disqualify Adolin too?
Well, I wasn't really thinking about Adolin in this.
Sure.
So yes.
This is going to sound crazy, but I'm actually almost thinking about Dusk, which in some senses, like not at all, because Dusk is very much like the pessimist, you know, everything is the worst. But when it just comes to the stalwart, gonna do the right thing every single time, stick with his guns. What is the mission? Give it to me. I'll accomplish it, and I'll help those around me as I do it. I don't think it's Dusk, but I'm thinking of him for this one.
So what I was planning to do initially was Sylphrena. I feel like she encapsulates that idea of loyal companion and wanting to help.
Before you do that, what about Yumi?
Yumi is a pretty good answer as well.
Okay.
I had thought about Yumi as well, but I think my true answer is Tress because of the whole sentiment of going after. Like she wasn't asked or tasked to follow after Charlie, but she did it. And I can't think of the scene of, you know, Frodo's like, I'm going to Mordor alone. And he says, of course you are. And I'm coming with you. You know, that's essentially what Tress was doing here. So I think the Samwise Gamgee Award has to go to Tress.
I do like that pick. Well picked, Paul. All right, Paul again.
Such a good pick. I got awarded with another.
We'll be awarding the MVP Side Character Award.
There's a lot of great side characters out here. This kid.
Is this like
Of course,
Best
you have
supporting
Demu on
actor.
these lists.
Of course, I
Yeah.
have Demu on the list. The MVP side character nominees are Lopin, Demu, Steris, Rock, and Galadon.
Can I tell you the list of nominees that I expected to see when we opened this?
Yes.
I expected to see like Sylphrena, Pattern, Wendell, like all the Spren is basically what I had in my mind here.
I mean, you can give it to Spren if you'd like.
I gotta say, hard shout out to Rock here. I did not think
Yeah.
about that until I saw it on the slide. Oof, that dude.
I'm gonna play this a little bit because it's MVP side character, not necessarily like favorite or
Most
funnest,
valuable.
or coolest, most valuable side character.
Do you remember the end of Oathbringer?
It's true.
Is that the
That's
part where
true.
Demu steps in? You know,
That's the part where Rock shoots Amarim through the head with an arrow
that is
With a
is true.
shard bow.
with a shard bow
That's true.
with
That's
his bare
true. That-
hands.
The rock stocks are rising swiftly. Man, this is a bit of a tough one. So yeah, in Stormlight terms, I think Rock is a very strong contender. In like Cosmere terms, I think Galadon's a good mention. Man, side
Hoyd.
pick. Yeah, Hoyd, of course. Yeah, probably.
Hoyd's cheating.
Yeah, Hoyd is disqualified from this. Man, I'm having a tough time choosing. I think I am gonna have to go with Rock.
Yeah.
He does too much good, too much positive influence for the group, and too much clutch. You know, laying down his own freedom essentially to
Totally.
step in. I mean,
And very much
We-
a side character. That was something I was wrestling
This-
with too here. Is there's a lot of names
Yeah.
coming to mind like a Marisi, but arguably they're like main character material. Rock
Right.
is definitely a side character, I think, and
Yeah.
also valuable.
yeah, good distinction.
All right. I will be awarding the Nearest Miss Award. Did I already do this one? No. Okay, the Nearest Miss Award. So I have to preface this one. The Nearest Miss Award to me means their worldview is like 98% correct. And if they had just gotten that final 2%, they'd be an MVP of the Cosmere. But because they're just slightly dialed off, they are a huge threat to everyone around them. That is the Nearest Miss Award. With that said, should anyone be on this list that is not? The nominees are Yasna, Moash, Harathan, Taravangian, and Kelsier.
I think there's an obvious winner for this one, and I think it is on the list.
I'm wondering if Cultivation, Corvellium Avast should be on this list.
Okay.
I wouldn't put her above some of these people.
Probably not. Probably not.
So there's a couple interesting ones here. If I stick to the title of the award, the Nearest Miss, of like they're almost correct but not quite, I think it's between Yasna and Kelsier for me. What's your clear nominee, Paul, that you're referring to?
I think Taravangian was almost there. You know, as we see from a lot of the conversations we have, his is at least the biggest impact because it was a miss and not a hit.
Sure.
It's absolutely led to the most destruction and the most like downfall because of it. And I think it's pretty close. I do actually think that Harathan and Kelsier might be the closest of the misses in the group.
Yeah.
But super close. Kelsier is arguably not a miss, by the way. I think some people would argue that he's not a miss. So food for thought on you there.
They might be upset when I give it to him. Elliot, any thought before I?
don't think I'm going to weigh in on the Kelsier stuff. I don't know. I can see this going a few different ways. I think it's not Hrathen. I think Hrathen has a big turnaround or a big revelation.
Yeah,
I don't know that he was all that close to begin with.
sure. I am going to give this to Kelsier simply because
Shots fired.
Yes, I will take a shot across the bow for that one. Kelsier he almost gets it. He almost gets it, but not quite. All right.
They're going to come after you in the comments, man.
I again will be awarding the Cast and Crew Award. All right. So this one, who is the best crew in the Cosmere? And the nominees are Bridge 4, our Mistborn Era 2 crew, which is Wayne, Steris, Marcy, and Milan. Kelsier's original crew, the crew of the Dynamic, or the crew of the Crow's Song. Any thoughts before I award this, gentlemen? We all know who I'm going to award it to, but any thoughts?
Yeah, no, there's probably no swaying you from this one. All I have to say is I think I'm glad I'm not awarding this one because I feel like I've historically been a cast and crew hater in general.
Fair enough.
The recency bias is actually making me think about the crew of the Dynamic. I want more stories with them. That we were onto something there, but I know where you're going to go with this, and I don't think I can disagree.
All right. Bridge 4 receives the Cast and Crew Award. Elliot will be awarding the HR Would Like a Word Award.
Oh, dear.
All right.
I have some good ideas for this, that's for sure.
For the nominees for the HR Would Like a Word Award, Sadius, Straff Venture, Blushweaver, Wayne, and Sabariel.
Oh, my goodness.
Wayne was definitely the name that stuck out to me the most. He's just running his mouth and he is saying all the wrong things to all the wrong people. So,
but who he's competing with are certainly a lot worse.
Very fair. I feel like Straff Venture would have HR executed, which makes it challenging.
True.
I feel like they
would not bring Straff Venture in.
They would not question him. They would not bring him in to have a chat. I'm afraid.
There's a lot of reason. There's a lot of different reasons to get called into HR's office, and we have a bunch here. Strong possibility with Blushweaver with the whole send for you, come to my office so I can just full on try and seduce you. That's not recommended.
HR Would Like a Word.
Yep. But yeah, Wayne is definitely getting a few written reminders, written reprimands. Sabariel's got like the mistress running around all the time. I think it's Blushweaver just for the plain and simple, on the nose inappropriateness. She's coming right out and going after you. HR Would Like a Word.
Indeed. All right. I believe we have 2 more to go. Paul, you are awarding. Maybe we have 3 more to go. There's one on here that I didn't dismiss. Yeah, that one.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah, that one too.
Oh,
Hold on.
Okay. Whoa.
Yeah, 2 more. The Most Thematically Cohesive Award. Very nice and wholesome award here. And the nominees are The Emperor's Soul, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, Oathbringer, The Hero of Ages, and Elantris.
I think it's going to be hard to talk me off the Elantris train because the whole thing is one cohesive, not only cohesive, but like planned out system. Like even to the chapter rotations, like point of views and the consistency of the characters and things. But I am still open.
If you're looking for someone to talk you off Elantris, it will certainly not be me.
I'll just quickly throw out Emperor's Soul. A little hard to compare the two of those because they're quite different, but Emperor's Soul is such a well-constructed bite size, everything in it works together and works well piece. But can you compare it to an entire novel length book, which also does some of those things well in Elantris? That's tough.
Absolutely. There's the side of me that wants to really throw a wrench in this and choose like Allomancer Jack or something, but
Yes.
I'm gonna say that as my let everyone know just to keep everyone on their toes. But in reality, I am gonna choose Elantris. I think it is
Yep.
certainly the
Yep.
most
Well
thematically
done.
cohesive across the board.
All right. And the final award, I will do the award before spinning who gets to pick it. The final award is the most iconic one-liner. And the nominees are Honor is Dead, but I'll see what I can do. I am, unfortunately, the hero of ages. I'm the expletive hero. You cannot have my pain, or For the Bridgeman.
I really hope I get to award this one.
And who gets to award it is me.
Ah,
Oh, we're so doomed.
the
All right, no, I'll
fearless
take-
leader of our
I'll
podcast.
take myself off. One of you guys can do it. All right, Paul, you
Wow.
can do it.
Whoa, okay. Whoa. I feel like I'm cheating you, Trevor. Which one would you choose?
Okay, so for me, oh man, I don't know what I would choose, to be honest. There's 3 clear contenders, and they're the bottom 3 to me. It's Wayne, Dalinar, and Kaladin for me, the bottom 3 as the most iconic. But
I think that nothing hits harder from this list than I am, unfortunately, the hero of ages.
yeah, that is a
Goes
good one.
pretty hard. What do you think, Elliot?
I am quite surprised how not aligned we are on this list because it is no question honor is dead, but I'll see what I can do. The amount of
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's the-
punchiness that is packed into that, it is relevant and it is poignant and it is like you put the book down and you cheer when you see that line.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
said
it is certainly the fan favorite, but it's not my favorite, so that's not what I would pick. Paul, you do get to choose this.
I'm now running through every quote ever, by the way. Also thinking,
He's gonna pull out like no mating or something like that.
Yeah,
I am a stick. That didn't make the list. I mean, come on here.
you can nominate it if you'd like.
That's fair.
Something pancakes by Lyft.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
The phrasing, the intensity of the moment, everything, I cannot not go with. I am, unfortunately, the hero of ages.
Wow.
You
Wow.
see that even out of context, in context, it's so it's just so poetic, you know.
Yeah.
I think it hits hard. I think it hits the hardest on here. The others are great sentiments, and my second choice is definitely Honor is Dead, but I'll see what I can do. Yeah, Trevor, I don't know what train you were on over there, but
I'm on the obviously thematically better train of the bottom 3, but that's okay.
You Cannot Have My Pain is good. Honorable mention that's not on this list that I totally could pick as well is the I bet no dragon had it this good anyway, or whatever the last line of Dog and the Dragon is. I think that's a great line as well. But yeah, I think I'll rest here. I think if I was to change this out, I would change it with the Dog and the Dragon line. But there we go. The most iconic one-liner.
All right. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen, on our 2026 edition of the Cosmeres, or the Cosmes? The Cosmes. That's
The Cosmes. Yeah.
I'll just say, well done with these categories. These were quite clever.
Thank you.
It was excellent.
There were a couple give me awards like best sword, but I enjoyed coming up with a lot of these. So
I appreciated the executive power I was granted whenever I
Yep.
was awarding the award.
Yep. All right. We will close it there. We are going to be going on break for the podcast for the next 2 months, 2.5 months or so. So thanks for joining me, Paul and Elliot.
On we go.
Toodles for a while.